What's up guys, it's Sarah again, and in today's video we're going to cover what to look for when your horse is lame on the hind end. So this is part 2. By the way, I'm going to be cleaning Ernie's stall while I'm doing this video because I'm multitasking. So pretty much everything we talked about in part 1 regarding the hoof is all going to be the same when you're talking about the hind hoof. So we've already discussed abscesses, laminitis, trimming issues, low ring bone, high ring bone. I did, however, after going back and watching that video, realized I forgot a few things that I wanted to quickly discuss in this part 2. So first thing I want to talk about is thrush. So if your horse has a significant amount of thrush in their frogs are going to be pretty sensitive and painful when that frog comes in contact with the ground. So you may actually see a way to kind of assess, like, okay, is maybe the frog involved, is you might find that the horse is actually more lame on a soft surface. So like arena footing, you know, because the arena footing compacts and pushes up into and underneath the hoof, thereby putting more pressure on the frog. So if your horse has a very thrushy frog, when that happens, they're going to present as more lame. When you're looking at the frog, what you want to look for is that black kind of necrotic fungus looking substance on either side of the frog, and the frog itself will oftentimes in the more advanced stages get like mushy, almost like waterlogged. You can really tell it looks kind of sickly. It doesn't look like a nice, healthy, fat, robust looking frog like it should. And I would also suggest, if you guys, you know, really aren't familiar with those kinds of things, just go on Google and look up healthy frog hoof, or just healthy horse's frog, sorry, and then look up a thrush-filled frog on a horse's hoof. Just so you kind of have a better idea of, you know, what that looks like. Okay, so I think there's one more thing. Oh, just a real quick mention of side bone. The side bone is going to present itself almost identically to ring bone, in that in the more advanced stages you're going to feel some bony growth changes on the side of your horse's hoof. Again, go on Google, look up side bone, get, you know, so you have a picture in your head of what that looks like. That's going to be really helpful for you guys. As far as moving up the leg on the hind limbs, same thing can happen within the fetlock joints. You know, arthritic changes, the tendons in the back of the legs can also become bowed. And I mean, obviously, like if you had like a detached tendon, that would be extremely swollen as well. And then just real quick too, I wanted to kind of discuss on the hind limbs, much like with the forelimbs, whenever the hoof is involved, you're most likely going to see lameness at the walk. And things get trickier the higher up we go on the hind leg. So starting with the hocks. So a couple of things to look for whenever you might think your horse is hock lame is you might find when you watch your horse walking from behind, they tend to take their hind legs and step them inward, almost like they're tightrope walking. That's a compensation pattern that you'll see a lot whenever the hocks are sore. And I mean, hocks can be sore for different reasons. Arthritis, they may have strained the joint somehow. But this is really about targeting, okay, where is the horse in pain? You know, that's kind of my goal of this video, not necessarily, okay, like why is it in pain. Some other things that happen when the hocks get sore is oftentimes the horse's back will get sore. So particularly like in the lumbar area, so the back of your saddle. If you're palpating your horse's back and you find that they're very reactive, like kind of where the edge of your saddle would be, that's a really good indicator that they might be having some hock issues. Another thing to look for is the horse is going to be very resistant to having their foot pulled back away from their body for trimming or any farriering work, shoeing, etc. That's a big clue that they might have some hock issues going on. And the last thing I wanted to discuss with hock issues is when you're watching your horse walk from the side, you may notice that they don't extend their legs back, like behind their butts as much. Their strides tend to be shorter going back behind them. So they're still somewhat able to step and track up, but you'll notice a shortened stride behind. So that's a big clue that you might have some hock issues. As we move up the leg even higher and we start talking about stifle issues, something to look for is when you visualize your horse walking from behind. So hocks, the legs tend to move in. When the horse is having a stifle issue, they tend to swing the leg out and around, out and around. So let me back up here. I don't know if you can see me. They kind of take their leg out like that. And it's important for you guys to realize that these like compensation patterns and gait changes sometimes are really small, and you really have to look at your horse with a critical eye. Say, okay, are they stepping directly, planting their foot directly in line with the hip, or are they deviating to the center or swinging out ever so slightly? Because I mean, it's not always super obvious, especially right off the bat. So you guys really need to watch your horses, like I said, with a very critical eye, and you know, try to assess, is something happening, is something different, are they moving weird? What's up guys? Clearly I'm not in the barn anymore, I'm home, but after watching the video and editing it, I realized I forgot a really important part that I wanted to mention on stifle issues, and that's toe dragging. So watch your horses walk. If you can see that they're dragging the toes of their hind hooves, that's a really big sign that they probably have stifle issues of some kind. So just wanted to interject and throw this into the video because I think it's important. Okay, back to me in the stall. Another thing with stifle issues is they're going to have difficulty backing up. You may find some, if this has been a long-term thing, some growth changes in the hoof. So sometimes they wear their heels down a little bit more, so the heel height will diminish and kind of run under. Difficulty tracking up, so pulling or stepping underneath of themselves. So difficulty bringing the leg under the belly. So the hock is harder to extend the leg back. With a stifle issue, it's harder for them to track up. So if this is a long-term thing, you could see things like kind of a hollowing in the back. So like, because they're, I hope you can see that they're kind of extended more like that. Just because when a horse tracks up, they engage their abdominal muscles. The back, the spine goes into more of a flex state, inflection. So they're pulling everything up and in when they track up, because, well, tracking up really is collection. It's a natural form of collection. When they have stifle issues, that doesn't happen so much. So it's been going on for a while, and you may see some like postural changes in your horse's back, and you can kind of tell like their abdominal muscles just don't look like they're engaging and lifting and strong the way that they should be. Let's see. A friend of mine had a horse with locking stifles. That's something that you can actually palpate So if you put your hand on the horse's stifle, when they go to walk or move, you can feel a clicking in the joint. So that's a really obvious thing that happens that you can look for. I think, I'm sure that's all I wanted to cover with the stifle. SI joint stuff, that is difficult, I will say that. When the SI is involved, sometimes the horse will have issues disengaging the hindquarters. They may carry their tail to one side or the other instead of having like a nice neutral tail. Look for things like hip hiking. So if your horse trots away from you, you may notice that one hip is kind of moving a little bit higher than the other. Real quick, because I didn't cover flexion tests on the hind limb, and I wanted to. When you're, diagnosing hind limb lameness, make sure that you are flexing the limb just like you would with the forelimbs. So you can start with fetlock joint and isolate that. But unfortunately, with the hind limb, when you flex the hock, you also flex the stifle. So if you have a positive flexion test, it's kind of a little harder to differentiate between, okay, is it the hock or is it the stifle? And then I wanted to share just a personal experience because I think it might help you guys kind of realize when something is going wrong. So with my horse Ernie, his hocks started to fuse a few years ago. So fusing hocks is really just the advanced stages of arthritis in the hocks. We were out on a longer trail ride and I noticed my saddle kept slipping to the left. And I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, what is going on? So like I bought these shims and like I tried to like shim up my saddle because like it kept happening. And anyway, long story short, the saddle slipping was because he was hiking up his hip in the back. So it had nothing to do with poor saddle fit. It was his compensation patterns, the way he was moving to protect himself from pain, that was causing my saddle to slip off to the side. So that is a big clue that you've got some hind limb lameness going on if you find that your saddle starts slipping. That is not normal. Also, another big clue for me is Ernie is barefoot. So whenever I would walk him on like a cement surface, he would really slam down. I can't even remember now. It's been like a year and a half. I can't remember which foot it was, but one of his hooves, he would land it much harder than the other one. Again, just little things like that. Like you kind of have to, just step back and like look at your whole horse and like, is that normal? And it's not. So they should be landing equally on all four hooves. They should be landing straight. They should be tracking up. They should be able to collect themselves. They should be able to bend side to side, move their forequarters, move their hindquarters. They should have a neutral tail position. Like there's a lot of things to look at when you're, assessing like, is my horse sound or is he lame? So yeah, that was a big clue for me that that footfall was really loud on that one hoof. I'm like, okay, that's not normal. But yeah, I just wanted to share those quick little like personal experiences with you guys. So if you find lameness in your horse, just one final thought is we love vets, vets are amazing, vets are great, but sometimes vets are not as good with soft tissue issues and biomechanics the way a really experienced chiropractor, massage therapist, or physio may be. So definitely 100% get your vet involved if you find lameness. But I would highly recommend that you get a second opinion from one of those people. Physical therapists, physios are amazing. They're such an asset when your horse is lame, or honestly, just all the time. It's good to have a physio or a physical therapist that you can call up and be like, hey, what's going on? It's just so helpful. So yeah, definitely get a few of those people on board so that you can refer to them when in need. But I think that's all I got for today. Hope you enjoyed, hope you found that helpful, and I will see you guys in my next video. Peace out.